Hello, Taylor Elwood here with Sovereign Submission, and today I wanted to talk about what it means to wear a collar as a male submissive. Now, you might notice that it doesn't seem like I'm wearing a collar, but actually I'm wearing this necklace. This necklace was given to me by my mistress, Sheena, and it is what I wear as a collar every day. I take it off only when I am going to martial arts or when I go to bed. When I get up in the morning, I kneel and I record a voice note for her and then I put it on. When I'm visiting with her, I will kneel. I'll give her the necklace. I'll kneel and then I will, pledge my submission and devotion to her. And afterwards put the necklace on, or she'll put the necklace on. She'll ask me, will you wear my collar? Now, sometimes we do have an actual collar that I'll wear, like a leather collar with an O-ring. But that is something that is with her, and we usually wear that for special occasions. So, what does it really mean to wear a collar for a male submissive? That's what I want to explore today with you, because I think this is a topic that isn't really talked about much, and it's worth exploring. The other thing I want to do is I want to do a brief plug here. On December 11th of 2025, so coming up here at the time of this recording, I am offering a class called Sacred Yes, which explores what it means to submit from a place of sovereignty. If you're interested in that and you're a man and you want to explore what submission means to you and how it can shape your identity both as a man and sexually, erotically, and through service and devotion, I invite you to come to that class, because that's where we're going to be exploring that topic, and I'll give you a little bit of a taste of it. And whether you're someone who is an experienced submissive, or you're somebody who's just new to it, or you're curious about it, this class is perfect, because we're going to be exploring some of the themes that come up around, like how do I kneel without losing my self-respect? How do I honor myself as a man without losing and without losing myself? These are important topics, so I'm going to be sharing that with you. But today I want to talk about what it means to wear a collar. Because every day when I put this on, there is a very deliberate act of intention that is occurring when I put that collar on, when I put this necklace on. And when the collar is put on me, whether it's Sheena putting it on me, or if she's got the actual collar or this necklace, there's still that active intention of receiving it. So what it means for me is that it means that I'm letting go of control. The need to be in control of everything. The need to have everything figured out. And I got to tell you, it's a real relief to be able to let that go. As men, we're told all the time, you need to lead, you need to be in control, you need to take charge, you need to be the one who's taking care of everything. And, for some women, that's exactly what they want. They want a man who shows up in that way and is the provider and protector and takes care of all that. And that's great. But not all men want that. In fact, I think that there are more men who don't necessarily want that role, or who want to explore what that means from a place of devotion and service, instead of from a place of I've got to be in charge of everything. And I know for myself that I find it to be really satisfying to be able to fully take on the role of the submissive from a place of service and devotion, instead of from a place of I need to be in control. When a man feels like he needs to be in control all the time, it puts a lot of pressure on him, puts a lot of performative leadership on him. And for me, when I put on this collar, it doesn't mean that I'm suddenly absolved of responsibility or showing up or taking care of things. Far from it. Because I am taking on a very specific role of service and devotion. And not just service and devotion to my mistress, service and devotion to my land, to my house, to my communities. For me, exploring the role of the sovereign submissive has really been learning about how do I say yes to myself from a place of sovereignty and awareness, but also how do I honor my deepest truth as a sovereign submissive man. What does that mean? It means that I'm going to honor the way that I show up for myself in a very clear and concise and directed manner. I'm not doing this from a place of trying to get attention. I'm doing this from a place of or leadership or performance or anything like that. I'm doing this from a place of just like, how do I show up and serve my community? How do I serve my home? How do I serve the people who are important to me? And I'll give you an example. When I'm visiting Sheena, I will make sure that I help out in the kitchen. Like I clean the kitchen, I do the dishes, I get stuff, loaded up into the dishwasher, and I usually unload it. I'm doing this from a place of devotion and service to her. It brings me a genuine sense of joy and contentment. It's also me saying a sovereign yes to myself, because I personally like to have a very clean and orderly home, and I like to make sure that the people that I'm with also have a clean and orderly home. So it's something that for me gives me a sense of accomplishment. But another example I'm going to share is an act of service that I did yesterday at the time of this recording. I was at the Quan, which is basically the name for the studio, the martial arts studio for Kung Fu. And I could have spent my time there focusing on my techniques and refining them and everything else. But what I did is I ended up training a student while I was there, who's just starting out. And I trained him on a yellow belt technique. And that was an act of service to him. It was a sovereign yes on my part toward helping him get better. Now, I had a few reasons for doing it. One is that I need to get so much training time in so that I can progress with my belt. But another reason was because I genuinely wanted to, get to know him better, and I wanted to make sure he had a really good experience there. And how better to do that than to give some personal attention? And what ended up happening is that he definitely learned something from the experience. I learned a lot from it. I learned how I could teach the technique better, and I learned more about the technique in my explanations and in showing him what we were doing. So this became a really good opportunity for him to learn something, but it became an opportunity for me to learn. And this is the thing, like, I was learning from a place of service. I wasn't trying to lead him or micromanage him or control him or be in control. I just showed up and I was like, hey, let me show you some things. So it was operating from a place of service. And I think that's a really important distinction. What I see a lot is that, men are put under this pressure to lead all the time. But let's be honest here. Not everyone is going to be a leader. And if we go in with the idea that every man must lead in every situation, it actually stops a man from recognizing when maybe he doesn't need to lead. Now, there are moments when you can lead. You can lead, and where I'm leading from is leading from service and devotion and awareness. I'm leading from surrender. That may sound like a contradiction. Like, how can you lead from surrender? Well, here's the understanding that I have of it, is that when I surrender my need to have things be a certain way, that's when I can show up better in my community with presence and awareness. And that's what I mean by leading from a place of surrender. So this is a really important avenue to explore in terms of being a man. We don't need to lead from a place of having to be in control of everything. We don't need to lead from a place of ego. We don't need to lead from performance. We can lead from presence and from a place of service where we are truly serving the people that we love. And we are doing it from just this deep sense of joy and contentment within ourselves, because we're saying yes to ourselves and to something that we want to be able to do. I'm going to talk more about devotion in later videos, but tonight I just want you to kind of reflect on if you're a man who is curious about submission, if you're curious about exploring what that looks like, or you're a submissive man, what does it mean for you to wear a collar? Or what would it mean? What does that really embody? It's not just about getting your sexual desires fulfilled. It is really about taking on a very specific role. And it is about taking on an awareness around devotion and what that means. So reflect on that, and I hope that you'll come and join me in Sacred Yes.